When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
There's a lot that could impress you about the all-new Honda Prologue EV. True, it's got class-leading passenger space and clean, thoughtful design and intuitive technology. But what really sets the Prologue apart from the competition is that it's more than an EV. It's a Honda. Honda, the power of dreams. Visit honda.com/prologue to learn more.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Anfield Index Podcast. I am, of course, Trev Downey, and I am still in my field here in beautiful rural Ireland, and I'm joined for this episode of the Anfield Index Podcast by Simon Brundish, I'm glad to say. Lisa Marie is out of action this week, and thankfully so I was able to step in. I'm looking forward to having a chat with him. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, thank you. Delightful summer's going on right now.
Yes, that is, I think, lifting everyone's spirits quite a bit, as well as our temperatures as we podcast indoors on a sweltering day, which is probably a bad life choice, but what are you going to do? There's so many things I want to talk to you about, mate. Really and truly, so many things. It's a long time since we actually had a chat. So, you know, this could go anyway. I'm just letting people know this conversation might end up being about anything. We'll just see how it goes, but we'll start and try and confine
ourselves. An hour without getting cancelled. Come on now.
I don't think it's possible, dude. I don't think it's possible. I think we'll probably hit our grumpy old man quotient about the half-hour mark, and then it'll be game over. So we'll see. We'll see how we manage. We'll obviously try to start by talking about Liverpool. And the first thing you said to me, which I was genuinely enthused and had one eyebrow Roger Moore style halfway off my forehead when I heard you say that, you know, I know it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but you were very, very optimistic about this new setup, this new guy. You're feeling very upbeat about it. And since then, we've had a kind of a small sample size of what it might be like in a pre-season friendly for what that's worth. So would you just kind of, in a nutshell, try to explain to people why it is that you are genuinely feeling upbeat about life under Slot and Liverpool's chances this year?
Well, preface this by I always convince myself of a way we're going to win the league, and this is not faux like bravado or anything. I find reasons why we're going to win the league, and this wasn't even one of those. This isn't a beginning of Brendan year or like 2015 where I still somehow figure we could do this and something. All of the stuff's going to line up in a beautiful angular vision of diamonds until that light goes through the perfect nook, and we're going to win the league through luck. I don't think that. I just think that 10 games ago we were on target from the 38 game period of football to get 92 points. This very team, the one that all of the lads that have left weren't playing in. So these lads who were available got 92 points over a 38-game period. That's enough to win you a league. That's enough to win this league. It just happened to be the wrong 38 games. So that gives me faith that we can do it over a 38-game period. My extra boing in my step comes from working around sports and footballers and people for 28 years, and my time playing before that. That there's so much psychology that goes on here, and people get bored. People get bored with, I don't care if Klopp was a genius, Klopp's a genius. But it gets boring listening to the same message. It's really hard to be convinced by the same voice to do the same thing and expect success. And we had a little bump in form the end of the previous season and then last season when we tried this tricky new inverted system, and he'd given obviously Pep more license, so there was a greater inclination from a slightly different voice, which buoyed the lads along because they were having some success with this new thing. But I just think it's human nature to give more for a new guy and for new players, because this is a whole bunch of new players that came through last season, a new team to unify together with this new guy.
Yeah, there's a huge part of my brain goes exactly there as well, because you're so right. There's a level of tedium that comes with the sameness, whether it's you're surrounding yourself by incredibly inspiring people on a regular basis. And any newness at all, if it's semi-positive, can have a really, really sort of beneficial effect. And, in football, as in most things, change is good. I've been, since the moment the decision was made by Jurgen to go, sort of half hankering for it to be over so we could start the new thing. Not because I was in a hurry to say goodbye to Jurgen, but because the decision was made, and now all of a sudden there's something that's there waiting for us on the horizon. And now, listen, I will say one thing. I've just done Daily Red for young Hendrik, and I found myself maybe being inspired by his famous grumpy nature. And I was talking in relation to a couple of articles I've seen where it was praising Arne Slot's tremendous energy and the fact that he's, having several meetings a day and he's working really hard. I found myself saying, even though I'm upbeat on this, I found myself saying, well, of course he's fucking working hard. He's 45. He should have energy. It's a new job. It's the biggest thing in his life ever. Of course he's going to work hard. But assuming that he is, and assuming that the return of the boys in the back rooms and the introduction of Richard Hughes is going to have this sort of culture change effect, it's all very, very interesting to see what happens. Now, here's a little thing I wanted to ask you. There was a conversation there during the week inspired by someone talking about Jurgen as the second only to Shankly as in the pantheon of Liverpool managers. And, well, that's patently nonsense if you base it on trophies. And it's incredibly insulting to the likes of Bob Paisley and even Kenny Dalglish. I can understand from a cultural perspective, there's a comparison to be made between Shankly and Klopp. Klopp turned the culture of the club around to the fact that you and I are now, you previously, like you said, went through some mental gymnastics even under Brendan Rodgers to see how we could possibly triumph. But you and I now genuinely believe that we are, to use again a Brendanism, in the conversation for the big pots every year. And that's down to the Klopp era. That was slowly installed over that period of time by him and evidenced by the fact that we reached all these massive finals and got so close to these titles. My big problem with the Klopp era is that it wasn't translated into the glory it should have been in terms of silverware. I'm infamously grumpy about that. It pisses me off to no end. I think we should be excited about an up-and-comer with a great bunch of players, an obviously great bunch of players. That's where my enthusiasm comes from. But the question I have for you, Simon, is it too much of a culture shift? I've just got done saying how important it was for the culture of the club to change and how Klopp was instrumental in that. But is this a massive, massive change? Have we any right to expect that it will gel immediately?
So I think you're talking about a couple of things at the same time there. I agree. I actually agree in that Klopp is probably second only to Shankly, and I think much closer than most people will believe, from a culture perspective, from a changing people's opinion of Liverpool within the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
I don't even think Shankly is the best Liverpool manager. I think Paisley is by far the best Liverpool manager. And I think Klopp is probably up there close in the top 4. But his whole thing was like, supposedly he creates the structure, but then it's all about like a culture, emotions, his mentality. Yeah, we get to finals and lose all the time. So there is something psychological about getting to finals and getting over the line, isn't there? That's what I hear amongst high performance in sports and stuff.
Mm.
So I'm not trying to undermine Klopp. I am always of the opinion. I am not a Liverpool fan that needs a messiah, and Liverpool fans create a messiah out of their manager all the goddamn time, and it kind of irks me. Let's say I don't think we need it, and I don't think we're going to get one right now. I think it's impossible to go from one messiah to another. So I hope this guy can lead us to some kind of glory, even though lots of Liverpool fans, even if we win the season, will still credit Klopp's team with that. Like in a Gerard Houllier, I won the Champions League in 2005 kind of way.
Yeah.
But it'll be fans attributing it to Klopp. It won't be Klopp taking that for himself, because he knows he's realistic. He doesn't want that stuff. I believe a power of Klopp, and then what's going to happen now is that when he joined, he created his team and in his identity a little bit, but got everybody's buy-in together. And there were a bunch of lads that were there already, but no real stars that he built the team around or anything. Those were lads that he brought in and that they developed together. There's never been any acceptance that Klopp perhaps developed. He was this messiah that came in and then he fixed everything on his own. I think he grew. That's what happens within aging. I'm better now than I was 3 years ago at my job. And I think that's what happened. And I think the transition in players that we had last year and the group of young players that are coming through, they have embedded that there's a real foundation, a way of playing, a way of behaving as a professional. I think that's a little bit more debatable than it would have been 2 years ago. That way it's instilled, the way of working. And you've got this new guy that's coming in at the same time who is as eager as Zobbo, as eager as Mac, as eager as Harvey, as eager as Darwin and Gakpo to prove themselves, that they want to strive for that very top of the mountain, and they can do it together. There's an opportunity to do it together. And last season, they were coming in to an established culture, an established group of players with an established coaching setup. And so they were always outsiders fitting in. And this is an opportunity for them, alongside obviously Virgil and Trent and Robbo, to create this whole new structure, this whole new team together. And I think it gives them more ownership of the identity of the whole team, which I think is a hugely powerful thing.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. But just to tweak into one particular aspect of where I was trying to go with the question at the end, like you said, I put a lot on the table there. What about the concept of the rebuild being so? Now, obviously, the playing staff remains incredibly consistent, and it's probably going to be mostly a couple of introductions and only a couple of outgoings. That's what it looks like. Being at this stage, we know we're not going to be doing business till after August the 5th or whatever it was that Hughes said. So what do you think about that much changing behind the scenes? And again, back to that question about
when you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
I've got Dan Morgan here on the pod. Say hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Dan Morgan. I'm an attorney and a managing partner at Morgan & Morgan, which is America's largest injury law firm.
That's pretty awesome. I think I saw a billboard of yours recently that said 20 billion won. 20 billion is an insane number.
Yeah, 20 billion recovered. It's actually, I think, somewhere north, probably closer to 22, 23 after this year. And each year we get bigger and badder and our army grows. So the number will hopefully keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Awesome. So how does someone get in contact with Morgan & Morgan? What would I do if I got into an accident?
Probably the easiest way is dialing pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. We are always open. Our call center is always waiting to take your call. 24/7, 365.
Wow. Dan Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Thanks for coming by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Is it potentially a little bit naive? So many people say we're so fucking high on the return of Edwards. And then, you know, one by one, these new pieces added to it. And, you know, kind of giddy chat, incredibly excitable chat. Like Edwards was the messiah, to use your image from earlier on.
Yeah.
And
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
I guess I can't ever go there like you. I don't, even someone like Klopp, for me, I don't do heroes. I don't do worship. I don't do that. Everybody's got feet of clay as far as I'm concerned, because they do, because they're people. But I just, are you sufficiently high on the arrival of all these people, the return of so many people who were instrumental to his success before, enough to say that, you know, we should do what I was always hoping we could do under Arne Slot, was just keep going, move on. There's no need for a reset. We don't have to talk about fucking establishment seasons or rebuilding or any of this boring shit. We can just go ahead. Have we a right to expect that?
That's exactly what I believe. I think that Edwards just comes back in, slots into the structure of the team. This is what he oversees. Rich Hughes, what I actually quite like. There's a slight you don't follow American sports, but there's a slight American front office general manager figurehead thing of Rich Hughes. I love that he was in the original presser with Slot, and they're working together as a team. There's probably 1,000 times more footage of Richard Hughes as Liverpool director of sport than there was of Mike Edwards' entire duration as the man in charge. So he is going to be much more of a hands-on figurehead, but I like their processes. One of the things to worry about a little bit is that Liverpool created those processes that led the world. Now everybody else does it because Liverpool were the gold standard.
Yeah.
So can we and those laptop geeks, as they like to be, as the world likes to know them, can they not find the extra edges that aren't already covered by everybody else to unearth a new Mo Salah, to unearth a Sadio Mane? Or are we in a position where the team structure is there and we might need one or two more like Ali or like Virgil, and then does Liverpool have enough cachet to get them in, which is what we didn't have before Klopp? That's the thing. I think it's over-exaggerated what Klopp did, but he definitely returned Liverpool to having the cachet, the pulling power that Liverpool fans expected.
Yeah.
Which we didn't have for 5 years.
Destination
Slot have that. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Does Slot have that, or do Liverpool, and because they've got famous players now, and we've got like history, and we're top 5 club in the world, like in rankings and stuff, and the stadium is amazing, and there's been, I'd imagine because of Klopp's success, because of Klopp's story rather than success in actual winning, because of the great runs we had in the Cups, because of the amazing nights, European nights, at the same time as the proliferation of social media, like it's renowned as what when I was a kid, like the Maracanã and Camp Nou, they were the great stadiums of the world where the fans were insane and rabid, and people would want to play in front of those. But you wouldn't because of the money and whatever. But now Liverpool can pay the money, and the world knows Liverpool's fans in a way that they didn't 8 years ago, because of Klopp's story, but also because of the social media. So maybe that brings cachet to the world footballer to grab them in as well at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the attractiveness of the club at PostClap is inarguable. It's just a fact, and the return to the status that the club. Well, actually, I'm going to say maybe it was a status the club never really truly held, because, like you say, of the new factors of various media formats by which the club has had exposure. Perhaps it's never been as popular. Perhaps it's never been as widely loved, and perhaps therefore it's never had as much cachet. And the concept of losing out to Real Madrid for Lenny Yoro was just about stomachable. And they're the only club, I think it's fair to say, that I would say, yeah, fair enough, because it just is fair enough. They're massive.
They're
huge.
Famous enough and more successful than us in our...
Exactly. So when that was happening, when he ends up with that crowd down the road, you're like, So that's a whole different discussion to be had. But I'm really fascinated by something that you said earlier on, and I want to just kind of tease this one out with you before we try to bring it back to evidence. You spoke about, as you get older, you get better at stuff, and that's how it should be. That's what I preach in my profession, and so many people who do my job don't believe in that. They're the finished article in their late 20s. They never change their systems, their ways of approaching things, their ways of approaching people. And I think you have to be constantly evolving, or at least open to it, at least humble enough to be open to it. And you were talking about, that concept of improving. Now, we were, as you say, the sort of leaders in the field of those improvements in areas that other clubs were not improving, and we reaped the rewards of that. Now, as you say, it's much more widely adopted, as every good innovation always is. So, with the idea of still improving, do you think the likes of Ward and Edwards and Hughes and people like that have it in them to dig deep and find other things? Or, you see, I'm speaking here from the point of view of someone who has none of your expertise in terms of analysing data and the rigorous scientific process of that. And I don't know if it's ever decreasing rewards, if it's kind of, are we mining the same seam, I guess is what I'm saying. Is that what we're hoping these guys to do? Or are we looking at innovation? Is there, in your opinion, further innovation that these guys who have been at the forefront can possibly be at the forefront again with?
Yeah, there is definitely innovation going on. I think the leap isn't there anymore. I think we're just pushing edges. I think 7 years ago was the beginning of, you hear people talk about GPS, and you hear me ramble on about distance covered and then sprint distance and stuff. That was a massive innovation, right? Like 12 years ago. But 7 years ago, it started to roll out across. People started to loosely understand what those numbers meant, and then start to align it to positions. And so Liverpool were the first club to look at their team, what physical demands Klopp's system required, and then look around other countries. And this is as well, bear in mind that they were looking with data that I was looking at, because there is no shared data from a physical demands perspective. So they couldn't look at Real Madrid and a Real Madrid player and know how fast, far, and how many change of directions a player does in a game, because that only Real Madrid know that. At the time, only Real Madrid knew that, and not in all games. So what they would do was they would look with me at publicly available data, which is slightly watered down versions of that Champions League games, which is publicly available, and they would start to create like profiles of each player and then go and grab before anybody else was looking. So they knew exactly how hard Mo Salah works, and how fast he was, and how many change of directions he was, that kind of stuff. This is probably 4 or 5 years before anybody else was looking as at part of their criteria for recruitment. See, the things we're doing now are we're utilising publicly available tracking data now. So there are 5 different tracking data companies that have like cameras in grounds and stuff, but they're within groups of clubs or agents. They're sharing data, and they're able to see which tactically how the physical demands of a system in a much more granular level than before. So the Guardiola's press requires these things, whilst Brighton's press requires these things, and then the retention requires these things, and they're refining their models on such a fine level that's where they're looking for players now to slot into this game model that they've never had before. If you could think of it like Championship Manager or Football Manager, whatever it's called these days, if you see those dots on the screen, people probably had this misconception that all clubs had access to this thing before, of their team doing that stuff for 10 years. And it's just not been the case. But what we have now is through tracking data is both event data, the stuff that you would goals, assists, passes, tackles, touches, all that stuff. That's event data, and we're now aligning it with tracking data. With when there's a pass, what does this lad do? For how long does he have the ball? And then where are other players moving on the pitch when he has the ball? So the stuff we're starting to identify is off-ball, off-screen movement.
So it sounds as if, from what you're saying, and you've explained it really well there, that there's loads of scope for further innovation and application of information which was previously unknown. But at the same time, if I'm reading you right in your initial response there, it is going to be diminishing returns. It's not going to have that oomph of the previous iteration where we were genuinely ahead of the field with a lot of different things like that. It's a refinement. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, kind of. I would say so. I think the couple of big outliers, the things that we're looking for right now, is gone from individual. We would look at before how an individual the outcomes of a game is decided by the individual, big outcomes, and that would event data. And now what we're looking at is much more. This iteration of data analysis is looking how systems work and systems against other systems. So games are basically being played out on computers. The people recruiting are looking at computers like dots. Where if this player moves in this direction at this time when the ball is here and this many players are in this zone of the pitch, what happens? How does a defender react to that? And then how does his mate react to that? And we're adding values to all of these things all the time. So a big thing we're doing is identifying our own game model, and then we're trying to identify players who will make the right choices to improve that game model. So we were recruiting individuals that could theoretically make our team better, but now what we're trying to do entirely is system stuff. We're trying to get a different piece for the system to improve the system that does specific tasks. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely it does. And again, it's something like I'm looking for reasons to be enthusiastic, and that sounds like a genuine one. And I'm looking for reasons to be hopeful that innovators, guys who are to the fore in their field, can continue to do that. That it isn't just, well, we've like I say, we've mined that seam. Is there any area, or what would be the area for you personally where you spent a lifetime around high performance sports? Is there an area in football, modern day contemporary football, other than the kind of ones you've mentioned there, which you feel is dramatically underexplored in terms of potential for yielding improvements in performance or better awareness of tactics? Is there something that screams out at you, or do you think people are really genuinely kind of all over everything at this stage?
I think people think they're all over everything at this stage, and that's the gap, is that they're wrong.
Yeah.
That each department, now we've got these massive departments of maybe there might be 12 strength and conditioning sports scientists, there might be 12 physios, there's 3 full-time sports psychologists, there's 5 nutritionists, there's 4 doctors, there are 5 individual development coaches, technical coaches. Like, there are so many people, and everybody thinks they're right, and everybody thinks that they're at the pinnacle of their profession, and the gap is that they're not. And if you can be humble enough, and if your leader, if whoever's running the hierarchy is self-aware enough to always be curious, always be looking at how we can improve. What is working? If we do regular audits on our processes, how did this work? If we're going to add this piece of technology to our testing battery, we're going to run it alongside previous equipment that does similar tests. And does it improve us? How much? How much time does that take? So does the outcome of this allow us more time on a training ground, which is going to be in the long term improve? That's one of the big things. The other big things is my realm, is what I would consider my realm, is that I've done a podcast on this with an England sports scientist. It is that football is still caught up in too much. We have all of these strength and conditioning coaches and sports scientists, and it's still a little bit run too much by, in my opinion, by a tradition of ex-pros. And mostly the people in charge of football, the technical coaches, they are ex-professionals. And so they were all of a certain physical type, and they see the value in being that type because they're under the opinion that if you're 11 stone and 5'10" or 6 foot, the metabolic cost of running around the pitch is going to be lower, so that that's going to be more efficient for a footballer. And it's built on like the wrong premise that there's a ceiling to your metabolic cost, and that adding 5 kilos of muscle is going to cost too much energy, so it's going to be damaging to the footballer. And there's no evidence that suggests that they can't cut that physical size of a footballer slows down, or if they're going to run out of energy towards the game. There's no evidence of that at all. If you look at rugby, where they cover much more high distance, high speed distance per game than football, and they have massive impacts, and they still get around just fine. That's not being adopted across football. But that being said, Liverpool are one of the worst of these exponents historically. If they show up at international camp, they're famous for having skinny players, and skinny tends to lead to injured.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
The following is a high five moment from highfivecasino.com.
Welcome to Burger Yippee. Would you like a hot apple pie today?
Yes, yeah, I won! Woohoo!
So that's a yes on the apple pie?
I just went big time playing High Five Casino on my phone. Real cash prizes, free daily rewards, over 1,200 games. Woo!
So yes or no on the apple pie?
Whoa! I won again!
I'll take that as a yes. Drive around.
Have you had your high five moment today? Only at highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino is a social casino. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Play responsibly. Conditions apply. See website for details.
High Five Casino.